Hi, this is a foreigner living in the Philippines, swatting flies. To go on and talk about the difference in cultures, let's say that different people from different cultures go for a job. In the Philippines, if a person goes for a job, they would tend to be quiet, humble, would go in and say, according to Beth has just given me this little scenario. The person who's applying for the job would go in and say, yes ma'am, I'm applying for the job, if you don't mind. And then the person who is interviewing would say, well, tell me about yourself, you know, and all of this a little. And everything would be kind of gentle and non-confrontational. And then the person who's applying for the job would say, yes, well, I know I can do this, and if you'll just give me a chance. And then if he gets the job and he's told he's got the job, he or she would say, I hope that I'll do a very good job, and you won't regret it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In China, they're very humble there and self-effacing, you know. The Western joke about the two Chinese guys walking along, and there's a Westerner coming towards them. As he comes towards them, they both look at the Westerner, and then when they passed, one Chinese guy says to the other, you know, they're not actually that bad looking, are they? And the other one says, too scrutable for my liking. That's a play on words. Okay, so when Chinese go to the US, Chinese students actually have a counselor in some colleges that will teach them to be more outgoing, more pushy, more talking about how good they are at everything, because the Chinese would tend not to do that, thinking that it is arrogant, which when you get to the American way, it probably is arrogant. So they have to be taught to be more pushy. Now, the Americans, on the other hand, they will go in and probably they are more likely to tell their prospective employer that they are the best in the world at doing that job, and that the biggest mistake that employer could make would be in not hiring them. They would be absolutely full of it. They have to be that way. That's the way. I don't know, like going into a bazaar in the Middle East and not bargaining. No, you would go in and you know that if the man is asking $10 for it, it's actually worth $5, and you offer $4, and finally come up to what it's worth. That bargaining is the way of culture. Wow. The difference is, the last one of course is the UK, which I'm from. Now, in the UK, if an American went and applied for a job in the UK, he would go in and he would do his routine of how great he was and how good he was at doing everything, and he knew all about this and that. He would do his cultural approach to getting a job, to claim whatever it took to do that job. And the British would be quite sly, and if the man claimed that he could do this and do that, the British will be likely to sit back and then wait for the guy to fall on his face and probably hope that he would do that. British kind of would say, on applying for a job, the employer or prospective employer would say, so this is what the job entails, you know, do you think, you know, what would be your approach to that? And they would kind of reservedly say, although it may have changed now, that yes, I think that I can do a good job on that, you know, because they'd be afraid of going in too hard, because later they'd fall on their face and everybody would be going, so they'd be avoiding that. So there are big differences in the different cultures and the way that people approach all kinds of things, like from everything from bargaining to going in and ordering a meal. If an American goes in and orders a meal and it's not up to scratch, if it's not good enough, boy, there's going to be trouble. You know, they'll ask for the manager will be brought to the table, and you know, they'll very, very clearly state that they are never coming back, and they'll leave, probably refuse to pay the bill. In the UK, from my experience, if the meal isn't so good, then you eat, you leave, you paid the bill, you leave, and you never go back there again. Kind of doesn't really handle things, but that's the difference in cultures, you know. So that's just a few examples of how that works. The contradiction to that is a true story that my brother told me, where he'd had quite a few drinks. So he was under the influence when this happened, but they went into a restaurant and his wife ordered a steak, and everybody else's meal was okay, but his wife said that her steak was so tough she could hardly cook it. She could hardly eat it. She couldn't cut it. So my brother demanded uncharacteristically to see the manager. And the manager came out, and he had his tuxedo on and a black bow tie, a white shirt and a black bow tie. Yes, sir, how can I help you? My brother said, the steak. The steak is just, you know, it's useless. It's just too tough, you know. And the manager said, well, it looks fine to me. So my brother picked up the piece of steak and he threw it at the manager who was standing next to them on the table. The manager standing here, and he just threw it like that. The steak hit the manager on his white shirt and it fell on the floor. The manager didn't bat an eyelid. He reached down, he picked the steak up off the floor and he put it back on the plate. And then he said to my brother's wife, ma'am, do you mind? And he picked up the knife and fork of hers and he cut a little piece of the steak and he put it in his mouth and he chewed it. And then he said, yes sir, I think we should give you another steak. So that's another way of non-characteristic way of the British that might have. That's my brother with a few drinks. Okay, so there I am. I'm a foreigner living in the Philippines, and my wife, she who must be obeyed, would like to do the end off to this. Over to you, Beth.
So thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Have a good day and God bless.
And God
Thank you
bless.
for supporting.
And God bless too. Don't stick